the early 20th century, at the time of the ship's construction, there was still a need for bulk cargo ships propelled by sail. Although most merchant ships were coal-fired steamers, delivery of coal supplies to distant points was expensive. Coal-fired ships did not have a great range due to the bulk of coal. As an example, in the 1890s, the Royal Navy's HMS Powerful and the HMS Terrible had the largest coal bunkers afloat, but without replenishing coal along the way, neither ship could make it to China. The German Imperial Navy's Gefion, at the time of the Boxer Rebellion, had the greatest range of any ship in the German Imperial Navy, approximately 4,000 nautical miles. From Hamburg to Shanghai in a straight line is 4,753 nautical miles. The distance was far greater around through the British-owned Gibraltar, past Malta, and through the Suez Canal, where Britain had coaling stations. Indeed, it may be said that the reason the Royal Navy ruled the waves was that Britannia ruled the coaling stations. No foreign fleet could venture forth without the risk of not getting home. In showing his flag in China, the Kaiser had to rely on British-owned coaling stations. At the end of the Spanish-American War, troop ships returning American troops from the Philippines had to recoal in Japan. Similarly, when President Theodore Roosevelt dispatched the Great White Fleet, the Navy had to rely on some 30 British-registered vessels to provide coal sufficient to get the fleet from Hampton Roads to San Francisco. The Navy was able to contract with only 8 American-registered vessels. The American Merchant Marine had not yet recovered from its decimation during the Civil War. At the time of the Spanish-American War, the United States had no foreign coaling stations. Even after the United States took control of the Philippines and established its own coaling station there, it had to rely on New Zealand and Australian coal. Thus, there was a demand for large sailing ships for long-distance transportation of coal. Coaling stations had to be established along the various sea routes so that the steam vessels could be recoaled. Sail provided an inexpensive method of delivering coal to far-flung ports. Sailing colliers, such as the Wyoming, had the advantage of unlimited range and were inexpensive to operate. Designed by Bernd Hansen with Miles and Mary, the master builder, Wyoming, a wooden six-masted schooner, was built and completed in 1909 by the Percy Small Shipyard in Bath, Maine. With a length of 450 feet from jib-boom tip to spanker boom tip, Wyoming was the longest wooden ship ever built. She measured 329.5 feet on deck, with a beam of 50 feet 1 inch and a draft of 30 feet 5 inches. From keel to topmast she stood 177 feet tall. Her gross registered tonnage was 3,730 tons, and her deadweight capacity 6,004 long tons. She could carry 6,000 tons of coal in a single load. Built of yellow pine with 6-inch planking and reinforced by 90 diagonal iron cross bracings on each side, she incorporated 300 tons of iron and steel fittings. Her construction required 1.5 million feet of southern pine and white oak, 700 tons of white oak framing, 2,300 tons of longleaf yellow pine for planking and deck beams, and 6 123-foot Douglas fir masts. She carried 12,000 yards of heavy cotton canvas for her 22 sails. Wyoming was equipped with a height anchor windlass and donkey steam engine to raise and lower sails, haul lines and perform other tasks. The steam engine was not used to power the ship, but permitted it to be sailed with a smaller crew of only 11 hands. On board, members of the crew could communicate with each other with telephones. The ship was fitted with wireless, steam heat, and hot and cold water. She was named for the state of Wyoming, because Wyoming Governor Brian Butler Brooks was one of the investors in the ship. which cost $175,000. Lena Brooks, the governor's daughter, christened the Wyoming with a bouquet of flowers. Ship's masts flew the red V cattle brand of the Brooks Ranch. The Wyoming was primarily engaged in the coastal coal trade, although she later made ocean crossings. On her maiden commercial voyage from Baltimore to Boston in late December 1909, Wyoming carried 5,822 tons of soft coal. Between 1909 and 1916, she made 83 northbound trips, 30 to Portland and 53 to Boston, averaging 32 days round trip including loading and unloading. During World War I, she was sold in 1917 to the France and Canada Steamship Company of New York for $350,000, roughly twice her building cost. She carried bulk cargo to Europe and as far as East Africa. After the war, she was sold again in 1921 to A.W. Frost and Company of Portland, Maine for $36,000 and returned to the U.S. coastal trade, often hauling coal from Norfolk to ports as far south as Argentina. Wyoming's great length caused her to flex in heavy seas, opening gaps in her planking and letting in seawater, so her bilge pumps ran constantly. She survived severe storms, including one in December 1915 off Cape Hatteras. That sprung her rudder head and caused her sails, requiring a tow to port. In late February 1924, she loaded coal in Norfolk bound for St. John, New Brunswick, to relieve a Canadian coal shortage caused by a miners' strike. On March 10, 1924, while attempting to ride out a nor'easter off Pollock Reef between Cape Cod and Nantucket, she was last seen by the schooner Cora F. Crazy at anchor. The storm's force was extreme, and the Pollock Reef lightship itself nearly capsized. Wyoming never reappeared. All 14 crew members were lost. Wreckage soon washed ashore life belts, her name-board, and a 72-foot mast section. In 2003, divers located her remains in 65 to 70 feet of water off Cape Cod, broken amidships. It is believed she struck the seabed in heavy seas, snapping her keel. Today, a full-scale steel sculpture marks her length at the site of the Percy Small Shipyard, now part of the Maine Maritime Museum. Though her career lasted only 15 years, Wyoming remains a symbol of the final chapter in wooden shipbuilding, a record-holding giant whose size tested the limits of timber, technology, and the sea itself.